Light and Peace for Today. A series of biblical themes by Joaquim Diaz, in the voice of António Sala. Theme 15, Walking in the Light, leads to keeping the true day of rest. Thus says the Lord, maintain judgment and do righteousness, for my salvation is about to come and my righteousness is to be revealed. Blessed is the man who does this, and the Son of Man who lays hold of this, who keeps himself from profaning the Sabbath and keeps his hand from doing evil. Isaiah 56, 1, 2. Criteria for dividing time. What determines the division of time into days, months, seasons, and years? The rotation and translation of the earth, respectively, around itself and around the sun, are an astronomical foundation. And it was the evening and the morning of the first day, second day, third day, the same happening until on the seventh day, Genesis 1:5 to 2.1. What about the group of days that make up the week? The week has a divine religious origin. It was expressly determined by God and divided into two periods. The first 6 days for work. The last, the seventh day, is an exclusive day to worship the Creator and for the physical and spiritual benefit of man. It therefore has a religious foundation. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. Exodus 29:10. The origin of the true day of rest, the Sabbath. In the beginning, in how many days did God make the earth and everything on it? In 6 days. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good, and it was the evening and the morning of the sixth day. Genesis 1:31-1. What did God do on the seventh day? Apparently, he didn't do anything else, because everything was done, and it was very good. But in reality, on the seventh day, God did something very important. He rested and let creation rest. God created this Sabbath day, a day blessed and sanctified by him. Genesis 1:31, 2:1-3. What does God command in the fourth commandment of his law? Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 28-11. What is the Sabbath a memorial of? The Sabbath is a memorial of creation. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and sanctified it. Exodus 20:11. Why does God only say, remember, in the fourth commandment? Because there was a danger of forgetting. Because it is important to recognize God as Creator, celebrate his creation every Saturday, and pay him due worship. The Sabbath, in the times of the Hebrew people, was the Sabbath observed before the proclamation of the law on Mount Sinai? Yes. The experience of manna in the desert proves it. Behold, I will send you bread from heaven, and it shall come to pass that on the sixth day they shall prepare what they gather, and it shall be double what they gather each day. Thus the people rested on the seventh day. Exodus 16:21-30. After Sinai, what did God ask of the people of Israel? You will keep my Sabbaths, it will be a sign forever, because in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was restored. Exodus 31:13-17. The Sabbath in the time of Jesus. For whom, according to Jesus, was the Sabbath established? For man. For the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Mark 2:27. What did Jesus usually do on the Sabbath? And when he came to Nazareth, he entered the synagogue on the Sabbath day, according to his custom, and stood up to read. Luke 4:16. In the time after the crucifixion, what did Jesus tell his disciples about the Sabbath? Regarding the escape from Jerusalem after his resurrection, and pray that your flight may not be in winter or on the Sabbath. Matthew 24:20. It is noteworthy that the city of Jerusalem was destroyed in the year 70 AD, that is, 40 years after the crucifixion. This implies that Jesus expected his disciples to continue keeping the Sabbath even after the crucifixion. What did the women who followed Jesus do after his death? They rested according to the commandment, Luke 23:56. After the resurrection, what day did the Apostle Paul go to church? The Apostle, every Sabbath, disputed in the synagogue and convinced Jews and Greeks. In the same way, in the absence of a synagogue, the apostles looked for a suitable place for worship and prayer. And on the Sabbath day, we went out of the gates to the bank of the river where it was customary to pray. And we sat down and spoke to the women who were gathered there. Acts 18:4, 16:13. What will be the day of worship in the new earth? And from one Sabbath to the next, all flesh will come to worship before me, says the Lord. Isaiah 66:22-23. Saturday was instituted by God to satisfy man's need to have a relationship with him. It is the day of adoration, worship, and communion, recognizing him as our Creator. The Bible and history testify that God's people of the Old Covenant, Jesus himself, the disciples, and the Christian church of the first centuries worshipped on Saturday. On the new earth, after the second coming of Jesus, Saturday will continue to be the day of worship and communion with God, our Creator. By worshiping God on the day established by Him, resting from our usual tasks, business, and all worries, dedicating this time to family and God, we will enjoy true happiness and appropriate the blessings promised in His Word. If you call the Sabbath a delight and holy the Lord's day, worthy of honor, and honor it, then you will delight yourself in the Lord, and I will make you ride on the heights of the earth, and I will feed you with the inheritance of your father, Jacob, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. Isaiah 58:13-14. Light and Peace for Today. A series of biblical themes by Joaquim Diaz, in the voice of António Sala.